This is going to be the first entry in the fragrance log that I hope to be able to keep of all the different perfumes and fragrances that I have in my collection. And I'm really doing this more for myself than anything else. Just trying to basically keep an archive of all the fragrances that I've collected so far, and then any that I purchase in the future. I just want to be able to reflect on, one, how, for example, my first impression is of the fragrance, and then afterward I'd like to be able to think about also maybe how it's changed, right? Either my perception has changed, or even sometimes the fragrances themselves, after maturing on the shelf, they may change as well. So the idea here is really to try to capture my impressions about it. It's not to try to give a review for anybody else's perspective other than really my own, just to be able to archive the experience with the fragrance. The first one that I'm going to be reviewing is Fragrance World Suits, which is a clone of YSL Tuxedo. And my approach to this is going to be just in reviewing the fragrances that I have, but I want to try to focus maybe on the rose-centered fragrances. And this may not be considered necessarily a rose fragrance. It's more, people tend to associate this either with more of a woody or patchouli profile, which it certainly is. It's just that it does also contain floral notes in it, and rose specifically. So I do like that. Now, I haven't worn this in a while. I wore it today. It's a cool day. It's maybe 50 degrees out today and rainy. And so this was really a pleasant experience. I describe it as spicy and warm as well as sweet. So it tends to have a kind of a really sort of spicy, but also soft and smooth wood that has some sweetness to it. I want to say almost like a vanilla at the base. If I look at the kind of the description on Fragrantic, and that says the top notes is patchouli and vanilla, so I'm not too far off on that. It also describes it as fresh spicy, warm spicy, and then finally rose, which I agree, because some of the notes that are shown in there are violet leaf, bergamot, and coriander at the top, which it does open a little bit kind of, not, I want to describe it as citrusy, but more green. I think that's the combination that I get out of that. And then it starts to get into the spicy floral. And then at the base is that sweet vanilla. Now, it's a pretty decent performer, although I tend to overspray a little bit. So I think that this one does need to be applied liberally for it to be able to stay with you for a while throughout the day. So I wore it today and went to the hall, and then afterward went out to eat with some friends. And by then it had been maybe 4 hours total. It was already starting to kind of wane. So I wouldn't describe it as a beast performer or anything of that nature, but it certainly has good qualities on it that'll have some longevity. So that's Suits. And I really think that this is well suited for this type of weather, right? So if it's cooler, fall weather, but it's also a little bit versatile. You can use it for any type of, say, casual. You can go to work with it because it's rather inoffensive. I didn't find it to be too spicy or too woody. It's not like an oud or something of that type, but instead it helps me to be able to feel confident because it's sweet enough that anybody around me will enjoy it for the most part. So I like it for the fall. It would be fine in the spring, of course, in any of the other seasons, but I enjoyed it most in this kind of cool weather. I feel like it's very appropriate for it. And, you know, again, it can be used in a lot of different environments. So my view on this is that really it kind of stands apart from some of the other fragrances I have that are spicy, that are woody. This is a lot more focused on the patchouli, but it still has that floral note, but it's not dominant rose. So I think with this one, the patchouli is really the note that stands out. Although I would say that with the florals in there, the sweetness of the vanilla, all of that, it really makes it more mass appealing. So I'm going to continue to wear this during the fall and winter, and then it'll probably go into the spring. I'll rotate it in with the rest of the fragrances for now, but I think this is a good one for that. And that is, again, Suits by Fragrance World.